Namaskar. Welcome to the lesson 2 under the chapter 1, the fundamentals. In this lesson, I'm going to explain you about the self-signification of a planet and their advantages and how to study a planet's self-significations. What is self-significations? In general, a planet is owner of some houses and occupying some house that is called as self-signification in our Vedic and also in KP. But in EPS, apart from that, these two, cuspal lordship and occupying house, whether a planet is owner for any cuspal stars or a planet is owner for any cuspal sublords also. It means whether a planet is cuspal lord for a house, occupying a house, and cuspal star lord for which houses, and cuspal sublord for which houses are considered. It means CL, OCC, cuspal star lordship, and cuspal sublordship are considered under self-signification of a planet. Let me explain with an example. Please check this EPS sample chart. You can check the self-signification of all the planets given on the right-hand side. From Ketu to Mercury, all the planets self-signification under CL, OCC, cuspal star lord, and cuspal sublord columns. As you are aware, Ketu and Rahu will not have the cuspal lordship, but all the other planets will have the cuspal lordship, basically. Occupying house is all the planets will have, but cuspal star lordship and cuspal sublord ownership, all the planets may not be having. So that you have to keep it in mind. And another point is that normally in KP, Rahu, Ketu are nodes and their Rasi lords are also considered. When Ketu takes, then Jupiter also is taken. And when Rahu is taken and Rasi lord Mercury also is taken. But Jupiter is the secondary planet and Mercury is the secondary planet for Rahu and Ketu. Similarly, in EPS, when Jupiter is considered, Ketu also considered as the second planet or secondary planet. When Mercury is considered in studying the self-signification, the Rahu represents Mercury because Rahu in the sign of Mercury. That Rahu is also, Rahu self-signification also considered when we study the Mercury signification, but it is going to be secondary. It means Jupiter, Mercury are primary and Ketu, Rahu are secondary respectively. So they are called as node planets. This you have to keep it in mind. Okay, let me come to that self-significations. When we are studying a self-signification of each planet, we will find many planets from CL, OCC, CST, and CSL columns. Those houses may be favorable for an event or unfavorable for an event, or a planet can contain mixed signification which are favorable and unfavorable for an event. How to study that planet is favorable for an event or unfavorable for an event through its self-signification. It means on its own. When it is having many houses, how to study it? We have to start from cuspal lordship. A planet is owner of which house? That is the basic source. And cuspal sublord ownership is the result. It means destiny. It means a planet is cuspal sublord for some houses mean that is holding the destiny prospects of the particular house matters. So from CL to OCC, OCC to CST, CST to CSL, a planet, what houses it is having, whether it is having further supporting houses at each column or not. Accordingly, it means favorable houses are supported or unfavorable houses are supported, or favorable houses are getting some obstacles in between. Only later it is getting some supports. That way we have to study whether a planet from CL it is having favorable houses to an event, and occupying it is favorable to the CL houses, then Cuspal Star Lord ownership it is having, whether it is supporting to the OCC, and Cuspal Sublordship it is having, whether that is also supporting to the CST. That way we have to study for each and every event. I will explain in detail later, but on what basis the favorable and unfavorable houses are being considered. Let me explain the basic principle, not normally what we follow in our Vedic. The basic principle for favorable and unfavorable houses are based on the Trigon theory, right? You are all aware of all these things. Still, let me brief that one. Out of the 12 signs from Aries to the Pisces, 159 houses signs are considered as the Dharma Trikon. For example, Aries is 1 fiery sign, 5 is Leo fiery sign, Sagittarius fiery sign. So equal qualities. So fiery sign and Dharma Trikon, they are all favorable for Lagna. And 2, 6, 10 are earthy signs, they are Karma Trikon. They are all supportive for materialistic life and status. 3, 6, 11. These 3, 6, 11, 3, 7, 11 houses are Aries signs. They are all Kama Trikon. They are supportive for both personal and materialistic life. The last one is the water signs, 4, 8, and 12. That is Moksha Trikon. Normally, they are not improving anything. They are normally will be giving some obstacles or not supportive for both personal and materialistic life in general. It means what? 159 are favorable, 216 are also favorable, and 37 are also favorable. Only 4, 8, 12 houses are the Moksha Trigons are not good in general. But out of them, the 4th house is Sugastan and also favorable for our property related and education related houses. So 4, we cannot take it as a complete unfavorable. And 6th house in 216, though they are all favorable for the materialistic life, but 6th house also is consisting of unfavorable Karagatva, Rana, Runa, Roga, Asthana. So it is also having some unfavorable. So 6 also cannot be completely taken as the favorable to the Lagna. It means 6 is also mixed one, right? So 6 and 8 and 12, this grouping, 6, 8 and 12, and of course 4 also can be considered. Only grouping of these houses will be unfavorable to the Lagna. No single house will be unfavorable on their own. Only grouping. Without grouping, nothing is, completely favorable or unfavorable. That we have to keep it in mind. For example, you can see for each and every house, the second house is going to be supportive to some extent. For Lagna, second house is next house is going to be supportive. And 12th house to the particular house is going to be not favorable. It is not going to be supportive. It means it is indicating 12th house, it is denying that particular house matters. They're all in general, okay? But what we have to keep it in mind, second house is favorable and 12th house to the particular house is not favorable. And importantly, third house to any house, fire is getting exaggerated by the Aries sign. So third house to any house are improving houses. 1, 3, 3 to fire, then air, and 9 and 11. So third house to any house are going to increase the intensity of that. But you can see the fourth house to any house, fire will not be supported by what is saying. So fourth house and eighth house, you can see fourth 1 and 4 is not good. Fourth house to this Lagna, the fire sign is not good. And of course, fourth house to this house, for any house, it is going to cause some obstacles to a particular house. 4, 8, and 12, out of them, fourth house is less obstacles and 8th house is more obstacles, and 12th house is self-undoing or loss, we can say. So it means 4th house to any house countered from a particular house is going to be less favorable or less obstacle causing houses, but third house to that particular house, it is going to increase the intensity of the house. That we have to keep it in mind. So fourth house is less obstacles, and eighth house is more obstacles, and 12th house is also not good. It is denial of the particular house matters. So what we have to keep it in mind, third house to any house is going to be it is going to increase the intensity of the house. And 11th house to any house is going to be definitely favorable to the particular house. And 7th house to any house is going to balance. Lagna, opposite house is 7, it is going to balance. It is also supportive and balancing house. So based on this, just I have briefed, based on this concept only, for each and every event, there will be some favorable houses, prime houses and supportive houses. Whether they are all in the cuspal lordship occupying house, cuspal star lordship and cuspal sublord significations, whether they are all having supportive to each other, CL is either supported by OCC or cuspal star lordship and cuspal sublordship, based on that, that planet's favorable significations are good or unfavorable significations are more or both favorable and unfavorable are present. We have to study that. Now, let us discuss in detail about these favorable and unfavorable houses for Lagna and also for any event. Because Lagna favorable houses and unfavorable houses may not be the same for an event, because according to the event, the favorable houses and unfavorable houses will vary. But important thing what we have to keep it in mind, unfavorable houses to the Lagna is most important. Importantly, 8th house and 12th house grouping. Of course, 4th house and 6th house are also can also be considered under unfavorable, but not in a great extent. But grouping of 4, 8, and 12, or 6, 8, and 12, or 4, 6, 8, and 12, the grouping of houses only will be unfavorable. No individual house is going to be unfavorable. That we have to keep it in mind. Now, because 4th house and 6th house are also coming under the favorable, because 4 is education, property, and comfort, the Sugastan, all are coming under the Lagna for favorable for Lagna. So 6 is also job, and also it is victory over enemies. All these things are also coming under favorable. But whereas that 4 is also less obstacles to the Lagna, and 6th house is Rana, Runar, Augustan. So 6 is also not a good house when compared to 8 and 12. So because of that, 8 and 12 houses grouping along with that 4, 6 or 8 and 12 grouping are unfavorable to Lagna, and all the other houses are going to be favorable to the Lagna. I hope you understood. Now, for any event, as we discussed in the Trigon, for any event, there will be one primary house and one or two primary houses for an event. For example, for the marriage, 7th house, for the childbirth is 5th house, and for the profession, 6th house and 10th house are all the primary houses. On the unfavorable side also, there will be some primary houses for the unfavorable side. For any event, for any house, second house from any house will support moderately to that house matters. For the Lagna, second house is going to be supportive, right? For the second house matters, second house to the second house is third house. That is also supportive, moderately supportive. You understand? So second house from any house will support moderately to that house matters. But third house from any house, it is going to increase the intensity, because that is going to improve the house matters. As I discussed, fire and air. Fifth house and ninth house from any house will support the house matters. Because 1, 5, 9, as we discussed, they are the Dharma Trikan, they're all equal, qualities to 1, 5, 9. So fifth house and ninth house counted from any houses are going to support to each other. And seventh house to any house, it is going to balance the house matters. It means that is also going to support only. 11th house from any house will favor for the house matters. For Lagna, 11th house is benefit or profit, gain. And for any house, 11th house is going to be favorable. It means going to give favor to the particular house matters. But we have to keep this in mind. When we are identifying third house from any house, or fifth house or seventh house or 11th house from any house, which are all favorable, the resulting house, if it is 8th house and 12th house, or if it is unfavorable to the Lagna, then though that house matters can be improved, but it may not be favorable to the Lagna. I will tell you. For example, 10th house. 10th house is the profession. Third house to 10th house is 12th house. It means the job or business, they are going to increase the intensity, are going to expand by way of 12th house investments. 10, third house from the 10th house is 12th house. It's going to improve, yes. But this 12th house is to the Lagna, basically it is a loss or expenditure causing houses. Of course, for the expansion, expenditure is required. But that can be converted into loss also, depending on the other house significations. So, though it is favorable, improving to the 10th house matters, but if the resulting house, if it is not favorable to the Lagna, then it is not going to be good. It means it has to be studied carefully. Similarly, for example, 7th house is the marriage, house of marriage. Third house to the 7th house is good to the 7th house matters. So 7 is going to improve. Spouse is going to be improved. It means what? More than one relationship or spouse or marriage is possible. Understand? So that way, third house from one house is going to increase the intensity. But if the resulting house, if it is not good, that is, for example, you can see 6th house is, see, for example, for the job, 6th house is good, right? If you take 6th house as the job, 6th house, if you take as a job, third house to the 6th house is 8th house. What is 8th house? 8th house is not good to the Lagna, though 6 is increased. It means workload is increased. Job intensity of the work is increased. The Lagna is going to face the pain. Because of the work load increase, the Lagna is going to face struggle or stress. It means third house from any house can increase the intensity, but that resulting house, if it is not good to the Lagna, that house matters may improve, but Lagna can suffer. I hope you have understood. Now, on the unfavorable side, fourth house from any house will cause less obstacle or less progress. As I said, no, the fourth house is going to cause less obstacles, not great obstacles. But sixth house from any house also will cause obstacles to the particular house matter. For example, for the Lagna, seventh house is balancing, but sixth house is not balancing. It is imbalanced house to the Lagna. So sixth house from any house will cause obstacles to the particular house matters because of the imbalancing. Eighth house from any house will cause strong obstacles to the particular house matters. If you count from any house, if it is eighth house from the particular house, it is going to give obstacles to the particular house matters. But you have to keep this one special condition in this also, that as we discussed for the third house counting, for example, if you take seventh house as the marriage house, if you take the eighth house from the seventh house, this is 7 and this is 8. Eighth house from the seventh house is second house. It means seventh house is going to face obstacles to get the second house. This house is family. But this house is good to the Lagna, house of family and money matters, all these things. So, though seventh house is going to face some obstacles, since the resulting house is not unfavorable to the Lagna or it is favorable to the Lagna, despite some obstacles to that particular house matters, that is going to be favorable to the Lagna. It means what? The resulting house are favorable houses to Lagna, for example, 1, 2, 11, etc. Those unfavorable houses, it means what? If you count from any house, primary house, for 6th house, 8th house, 12th house, if you count from that, normally we say they are all, some causing obstacles. Importantly, 8th house and 12th house from any house, they're going to give more obstacles and loss to the particular house matters. But if the resulting house, if it is favorable to the Lagna, then that cannot be considered as completely unfavorable to the matter. It can give some obstacles to the matter, but may not be completely unfavorable because Lagna can get benefit out of it. For example, if you see, take fourth house. Fourth house is, say, house of education also, house of vehicle also, right? Vehicle also fourth house. Suppose 12th house to the 4th house is third house. So 4th house matters are getting disturbed or it is lost. Unfavorable to the 4th house is third house. If you take this 4th house as education and third house, it indicates that it is not favor to the education. Though it is 12th house to the 4th house, but third house is important house of communication and intelligent thought process to the Lagna. So third house alone will not be unfavorable to the education. That is the reason I have given without combination of 8th house and 12th house to the Lagna, the unfavorable house to any event without 8th house or 12th house, they are not indicating completely unfavorable to the particular house matters. Understand? So even for the what you call finance, money matters. Second house is the house of money. 12th house to the second house is first house. If you take first house, yes, it is 12th house to the second house. But this is first house is nothing but Lagna. So Lagna will not be unfavorable to Lagna. Though it is not supportive strongly to the, money matters, but since Lagna is not unfavorable to Lagna, we cannot say when first house is running, we cannot say it is indicating unfavorable to the finance matters. It can be unfavorable to the finance matters only when it is also connected to the 8th house or 12th house. So major houses are 8th house and 12th house. It means unless and otherwise 8th house and 12th house grouping, which are unfavorable to the Lagna, they are all connected to other unfavorable house to an event, that unfavorable houses will not be strongly unfavorable. They can give struggle, they can give obstacles to the particular house matters, but since 8th and 12th house, which are unfavorable houses to the Lagna, are not indicated, it is not indicating strong unfavorable to the Lagna and also to the event. When we are going to study each planet, complete signification and also in the case studies, I will explain in detail, but you have to keep this in mind that 8th house and 12th house, if it is present in a planet in the self-signification, then only that planet is ready to give trouble to the Lagna. Along with that 8th house and 12th house, if it is also having unfavorable houses to a particular event, then that planet is going to give more struggle to the lagna and also to the particular house matters. So I hope you have understood. Let me explain again how to study the self-significations. As I said, we have to study self-signification of planet from CL to OCC to CST and CSL. It means CSL is important, that is the source. A planet is having some house in CL, it is occupying some house, whether the houses, whatever in CL it is having, whether it is getting supported at the OCC and further supported by the CST and further supported by the CSL. That way we have to study. It means you can see each planet self-signification has to be studied from CL as the source. Check if CL is favoring for event in question. That CL is important. Next step, to check if the OCC house is supporting to the CL's house for the event or not. It means CL house is getting supported at the OCC or not. For example, a planet is, say, for example, if you take Venus is fifth lord. For sometimes you forget about the 12th house. Fifth lord and 12th lord, but you take fifth lord occupying seventh house. So fifth lord occupying seventh house. So fifth house is further supported by seventh house, third house to the fifth house. It is supported. Then check if the cuspal star lord ownership is further supporting to the OCC. It means CL further supported by OCC and further supported by CST or not. Or it is not supporting. That we have to check. Instead of 3, 7, 11, suppose a planet is having say like 4, 8 and 12. If it is having cuspal star lord for 8th house and 12th house, what will happen? 5 supported by 7, but that is not supported by at the CST level. It is indicating obstacles. 5 and 11 favorable, but CST is indicating obstacle. That is not the end. Then we had to study what CSL is indicating. Finally, check if the cuspal sublord ownership houses also supporting to the CST ownership or supporting to the OCC, the remaining houses. It means 8 and 12 is being given by the CST. It is giving obstacles to the 5 and 7. But whether 8 and 12 is further supported by the CSL or not supported, you can check cuspal sublord for third house, which is not supporting to the 8 and 12, but it is supporting to the 5, 7. But 12 also there. That is supporting to the 8 and 12. So 12th lord, 12th cuspal, 8 and 12 star lord, and 12th sublord. If suppose 8 and 12 is the CST for Venus, what will happen? Favorable grouping also present and unfavorable grouping also present. So it means what? The planet is favorable 5, 7 and 3rd cuspal sublord and unfavorable house grouping 12, 8 and 12 and 12. So because of that, favorable houses are getting obstacles and struggles also. So mixed planets, we can say that. So that way we have to check whether a planet is getting further supported at the next level. For example, you take moon. Moon is second lord occupying sixth house. You can see the color of the houses has been given red color or blue and purple based on even that software will show favorable houses in green color, blue color, and unfavorable houses will be shown under the red groups. So, I mean, depending on the event, the houses colors will change. So now, let us check for the 8 and 12. Unfavorable to the Lagna we are talking about now. Second house is good to the Lagna, favorable to the Lagna, and 6th house is mixed, favorable or unfavorable. Both are present. For the second house, 6 is favorable for the second house matters. But you can see 4, 8, 12 on the way, it is having 4, 8, 12 cuspal star lord. When you study from left to right up to the CSL, this is not good. This is good. But you can see the grouping of 6, 8, 12 also here. Second lord occupying sixth house, money is occupying sixth house, means earning, job, all this thing. Fourth house also supportive, but 8 and 12 are indicating hurdles and struggles. And again, 6 is also supportive to the job, but 6, 8, 12 is indicating to the Lagna some stress and struggles. Moreover, second house matters moving towards this, means when second is moving towards 6, 8, 12 and 6 sublord itself is having like this, it indicates what? Loan and debts. Finance is going to face some sort of struggle because of the loan or debts. That way we have to study from CL to CSL. When we study, it will give some indication about the particular planet, favorable to the Lagna or not, and struggle to the Lagna and for any event. But you can see 8 and 12 houses when they are present, or 8th house, 12th house, 6th house. Individually, if they are present, their impact is lesser. Only grouping of unfavorable houses, 8 and 12 grouping or 6, 8, 12 grouping in self-signification is present, then only that planet is becoming more unfavorable to the Lagna and also to an event. I hope you understood. If the CL to the OCC to the CSL are having grouping of favorable supporting houses to each other, Lagna, and also to an event, that is more favorable. It means what? From CL to OCC to CST, CSL, grouping of favorable houses to each other, and for the Lagna also, and also to the event, that is more favorable. According to the event, as you know, the self-signification of a planet can become favorable or unfavorable for the event. A planet can have many houses that can be favorable for an event. For example, for the Lagna, if you take these 2, 6, 8, and 12, 6, for the health, it is not good. 6, 8, 12 grouping, not good for the health. But in case of job prospects, if you take 2, 6, 4, 6 are good to the job prospects. Because of the 8 and 12, there will be some struggles, hurdles also. So one planet signification may be favorable to one event and more unfavorable to another event, or mixed for some other event. So that way, according to the grouping, we have to see that. So each planet will have for Lagna favorable and Lagna unfavorable, and to an event unfavorable, or for event favorable houses, they can be having grouping of houses. Based on the event, their grouping, favorable and unfavorable house grouping will vary, and a planet can be favorable or unfavorable or mixed for an event. So that is called, based on their significations, based on their favorable strength and unfavorable strength and mixed strength, we call them as key planets for a particular event. According to the event, key planets will change. It means for one planet, for example, 7 and 9, this Ketu is favorable for the marriage prospects, right? And you can see that Mercury 1, 4, 8, 2, 6, and 2, it is 1, 4, 8, 2, 6, and 2. It is only if you look at Mercury, it is good for the professional prospects with obstacles. 1, 4, and 6, sorry, 8 is not good, but 2, 6 is good, and 2 is good. So Lagna is going to face some obstacles, but 2, 6, 2 is good. Finally, second cuspal sublord for the finance. But if you check this planet for the marriage prospects, 1, 4, 8, 2, 6, 2 is not a supportive houses. Though second house is favorable for the family, but 4, 8, 2, 6, 2 grouping is not very strong to the marriage prospects. So it means what? Because it is having 8 and 6 also. It means what? Same planet can have a favorable for one event, unfavorable grouping for another event. So we can call them, this planet is a favorable key planet for the profession prospects, but not, it's a mixed key planet for the marriage prospects, or unfavorable for the marriage prospects. According to the event, we can call them as the key planets. So this will be explained in detail under the key planets chapter. I hope you understood how to study self-signification of each planet and the method of analysis. I have explained, step by step. But still, when you are going to study practically the cases, then you will understand in the how you are going to study in the tables. Then you will learn better. Now let me explain you the advantages of studying the self-signification of all the 9 planets. It is always recommended while studying a chart, check all 9 planets self-significations first, especially whether each planet is having favorable house grouping to the Lagna or not. Similarly, importantly, whether each planet is having unfavorable house grouping, that is 8 and 12 grouping or 6, 8, 12 grouping to the Lagna. For example, out of 9 planets, suppose many planets are having these 8 and 12 grouping within their self-significations. Obviously, it is indicating that overall that native will be facing more hurdles and struggles in life for all sort of life events. Why? Logically, let us think. When more planets are having 8 and 12 grouping, those planets only are going to act as the star lord, sublord for other planets or all the planets. And those planets only going to be there as a sign lord or conjoined planet, aspected planet. So they are going to give their influence also to other planets. So unfavorable self-significating houses, if they're all many in the chart, basically that chart is becoming weaker. But of course, based on the favorable grouping of houses, that intensity of the unfavorable houses will be there. A planet can have 8 and 12 houses. Along with that, same planet can have more favorable grouping from CL to CSL also to the Lagna. So it means that planet is having both favorable and also unfavorable. But in some chart, you can find few planets or 2, 3 planets will have 8 and 12 strongly. It will be playing with less unfavorable grouping. So those planets can be a star lord for few planets. So those planets will experience the struggles. The struggles, obstacles will be given to other planets by way of Rasi Lord and conjoined planet also. That planet can conjoin with other planet. That planet can aspect to other planets. So its unfavorable significations are passed on to the planets. So that way, presence of more unfavorable, if you have to check all 9 planets, whether many planets are having unfavorable grouping. If unfavorable grouping are not much, only 1 or 2 are only present, okay, it is good. Then we have to check presence of the favorable house grouping, having got Lagna, second house, third house, 6, 10, 11 grouping. If they're all present, many planets are having such combination without 8 and 12. It means that chart is a good chart. That native is going to experience a lot of favorable, good prosperity in life. Of course, based on the level to level study, it means all levels, planet, star lord, sublord, only we can identify the complete signification of a planet for a particular event and its prosperity. But checking individual self-significations of planet, we can identify what could be the overall approximate strength and weakness of the native. So that way, it is advisable to know the weakness in the birth chart, whether that native has got more unfavorable houses, planets with unfavorable grouping or less unfavorable. That will give an indication about the weakness and strength of the native in general. I hope you understood in this lesson about the self-signification of a planet and the self-signification of the planets based on their strength, favorable and unfavorable strength, according to the event, they are considered as favorable key planets, unfavorable key planets, all these things will be more useful, that I will be explaining in detail under key planets lesson in the subsequent sessions. I hope you understood. We'll meet in the next lesson. Thank you.